Hello and welcome to the Empowered by Claudia podcast, where we explore all things self-development. Here you'll discover practical tools, tips and strategies to help you feel more confident, empowered and in control of your life. I'm Claudia, I'm your host, I'm a registered nurse and mindset coach, fear of success instructor, and most importantly, your guide on your self-development journey. I know firsthand how confusing and overwhelming and isolating this path can feel. So I created this podcast so you never have to navigate it alone. Hello, my lovelies. So I said to myself I was going to record the next episode of the Empowered by Claudia podcast, episode 44, all about our why when we are setting and achieving our goals. I promised I was going to do it today, and then my laptop decided to make some rather concerning noises. I thought it was going to blow up, and not exaggerating, it was horrific. So I can't do that. So I thought, what's the next best thing? Like, I will go live. I will see if I can hopefully save this and then use this as the podcast episode. So welcome. I'd love it if you join me live. That's fantastic. So I've been, the last few episodes of the podcast since I've come back after my little break have all been about goals. And I've got my new membership, the Goal Getter membership, which I'm so excited for. So giving you live group coaching twice a month, and also a community that's off Facebook, and just that support to keep each other accountable and actually moving forward to our goals. I think community is so important, but let's be honest, life is chaotic and messy, as the intro to this has just demonstrated. You can have a plan. You can decide, oh, I'm going to record a podcast episode today, for example, and then your computer melts down. These things happen. And by tuning into our why, to using the why as an anchor, that can keep us going. You know, it might be that it was snowing and you had a gym session booked, but you didn't want to get out of the warm house and go to the gym session, even though you put improving my health as a goal for this year. It could be promising yourself you're going to walk to do the school run and looking outside at the rain and going, yeah, I'll just get the car. So I think when we just focus on goals as just a thing on the paper, rather than something that is three-dimensional, that has a purpose, that is bigger than the sum of its parts. It's not just, I want to be healthier. It is, I'm going to do X, Y, Z in order to get there. And this is why I'm doing it, because I've got an underlying health condition that I want to treat, or because I want to avoid getting any health conditions, because I want to be able to run and catch a bus if it's driving off, because I want to chase after my crazy children as they're running around at the playground, because I want to get up the stairs without being out of breath. Like, there are so many reasons why we put a certain goal, and sometimes we just focus on the surface level. But obviously I'm a coach, so we like to dive deeper, and focusing on your why is really, really important. So like today, so why did I say to myself today, I wanted to record this podcast? Because it gives me time to edit it before it's due out next week. It gives me time without feeling pressured, that I don't want to rush it. It gives me so much joy to talk with you. And I really missed the podcast. And now I've got back into it. I'm just like, why did I take such a long break? But I needed to at the time. And I've talked about that all in episode 41. I really love being able to share with you, and I got some wonderful feedback from someone who listened to the last episode and really enjoyed it, and hearing your stories just keeps me motivated to keep going. So please do send me a DM or add a review, and I will continue making these. I don't know who's checked out the video version on YouTube yet. I am going to get a screen so it's slightly less chaotic behind me, but you know, I met up with my friend Susie yesterday, and she reminded me that, you know, people resonate with people who are real, and I am very real. Life is not curated in the slightest. And I guess that's the thing about me, is that what you see is what you get. I just want to be authentic and open and honest with you. And look, things are out of our control sometimes. Things get messy and they go off track. And we might not necessarily know how we're going to get to the goal. Last year, I had that huge goal, and it had been the same year. Hi, Susie. I just spoke about you. Welcome. Don't panic. It was all good. Just saying about sharing the messiness of real life and how that is really important, because we do hold ourselves to such a high standards, thinking, well, this person's doing all this and they're surviving. And actually, you don't see the behind the scenes. You only see the highlights. You only see this little section of the camera, not the rest of the chaos in the boom. So this week has been a little bit chaotic already, but I'd made a promise to myself that I was going to record this today. So here I am. So essentially, what I want you to think about is whatever goal you've got for this year. So last year I had the big goal of leaving my NHS job and being full-time in coaching. And I had no idea how that was going to happen, but I kept taking the little steps. And then when an opportunity came up, I did think long and hard about it and all the positives and negatives, but I went for it. And at the beginning of the year when I set that goal, I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I was focused on being able to work term time only, being able to go to school for Christmas plays without having to use up annual leave, not stressing about annual leave for the holidays, being able to really enjoy time with the kids in the evenings and the weekends, not trying to fit in building the business and working and all the stress that came with that. It was really important for me to have that different quality of life, that work-life harmony. And that's the things that kept me going to still take the action, even when I was exhausted, even when I was stressed, even when things went completely chaotic. It's like, what little thing can I do to take me towards my goal? And this is why your why is so crucial, because life isn't perfect. It's not linear. It's not like you get up and you live the same day every day. It's not predictable, particularly when you've got young children or caregiving responsibilities. Things happen. And so we need to really focus on why we're doing these things and actually not necessarily beat ourselves up if we don't do everything every day. So it might be that you have promised yourself, all right, I'm going to do a 30-minute workout 4 times a week or whatever. If you do a 15-minute workout every other day, that's still better than what you were doing previously. It's still an improvement. Even if it's 1 30-minute workout a week, it's still an improvement on where you were before. And that will still work you towards the why. There's a lot of apps that you can track like your progress against things. And I find that that they do these things about like streaks and that that you've done however many days in a row. And then if you miss that day, it then goes back to 0. But that's not the truth. That's not the case with goal setting. It's still making a difference to you. It's still going to have a benefit to you, even if you miss a day or 2 or 3, because life got crazy. Focusing back on that why, not worrying too much about the days when it just didn't happen, giving yourself that compassion and actually saying, life happened, but you're back here, you're back on it. And that is what matters, not the consistency of doing it every day. If you can, great. But let's face it, in this season of life, generally, it doesn't work like that. An example is your pelvic floor exercises. You might not remember to do them every day, but even just doing them when you remember is better than remembering and going, well, there's no point. I haven't done it for the last year, so why start now? Because it will still make a difference. I am not qualified to give out any advice about pelvic floor exercise, by the way. Please see a appropriate professional for that. But I just don't want you to get disheartened, because life gets in the way. Life's messy. At the moment, my kids don't go to sleep until a ridiculous time. And then there's no time for me. So last night, Evie went to sleep at 9:30. She's 4. And I was so exhausted. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to go to bed. But then I couldn't actually switch off and go to sleep for hours, waiting for her to wake up again. And Harry, again, if he's asleep by 10:30, then that's a miracle. And it is exhausting not having that time for yourself. So you have to think, right, when I'm setting a goal, is this practical? For me, making a plan to do something in the evening absolutely isn't practical because time is not my own. I can get away with doing some things, like I can do ironing if I'm with Harry in the living room while he's watching something on TV before we go up to bed. That I can probably get away with, and maybe a little bit of tidying. But anything on my business, anything on the laptop, that's just not going to work. He's not going to tolerate that because he wants my attention. Of course he does. So I don't plan things for the evenings because it's just going to make me feel crap because I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to meet that goal. So really, when you're setting a goal, so think of one thing that you really want to achieve this year, regardless of what it is, and think about why. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves a couple of times. There is a tool that we use in coaching called the 5 whys. So you're kind of like channeling your inner toddler and you're thinking, right, okay, so why do I want to do that? And then why? And then why? And then why? And by the time you've got to the 5th whys, you can really drill down onto actually what is the underlying thing. So last year I started focusing really on my health. And the big thing was that I was really worried about not living long enough to be around to see my kids grow up. Really concerned about underlying health conditions. And that was my motivation. So even when, I might have had a week where I didn't achieve all I wanted to do, I could still celebrate the bits that I did do because it was still better than not taking any action. So really anchor into your why and the true why behind it, not just because it looks cool on your vision board. And then thinking about what is a practical action to take in order to get me to this goal? And how can I, be compassionate to myself when things don't go to plan, because that's life. Things don't go to plan. And celebrate those little wins because that will give you that boost, that encouragement. And I remember someone saying, this was years ago, it was about a weight loss journey. And they'd set themselves this goal that they wanted to lose, 3-4 stone. And they lost about 1.5 stone and then kind of lost motivation because the goal was so far away. They weren't celebrating the fact that they'd lost 1.5 stone, which is a huge achievement. And they were focusing on how far they had to go till the end goal. And I totally resonate with that because it can feel frustrating. But actually, if you give yourself interim goals, so if you have a big goal, if you break it down into little steps and celebrate each time you tick something off, that's going to keep you going because you're going to get that dopamine boost that's going to go, wow, I feel amazing, I've achieved that. And that's going to just keep you going step by step by step, when sometimes it can feel like the end is not in sight. I totally get there. So if you go away, think about one goal you've got for this year, what your why is, and some small steps to break it down and how you're going to celebrate those steps when you get to them. And please send me a DM, let me know what your goals are. And I hope you enjoyed this slightly different episode of the podcast. When my new laptop arrives, I will upload it and it will go out on the usual podcast places and on YouTube. But in the meantime, it's here for you and it's a little bit early, so enjoy. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And if you want practical support in achieving your goals this year, my Goal Getter membership is open. The founding member price ends on the 10th of January. So click the link in my bio to look at all the details and get in on that amazing deal and get that support from me in this wonderful community that's off social media. And if you want to write a review or send me any comments or anything, please just send me a DM. And take care. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Much love. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Empowered by Claudia podcast. I'm Claudia from claudiasabinawellness.com. If you are ready to take your next step and transform your life, all the ways to connect with me, whether for coaching, courses, or any other sort of support are in the show notes or on my website at www.claudiasabinawellness.com. If you found value in this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review, share it with a friend, or post about it on social media. Don't forget to tag me at Claudia_Sabina_wellness. Your support helps more people discover the tools and guidance they need. I cannot wait to support you on your journey. Much love.